People rushed to Charlotte in 2020 for cheap homes and low taxes. Both of those are gone now. So, is Charlotte still worth moving to here in 2026? Or did you miss that only window that mattered? I've been in this market for close to 30 years and I've helped hundreds of buyers through every version of the city. Here's the truth, broken down into 4 things you need to know before you pack a single box. So, most people walk into Charlotte market right now are making decisions based on a city that stopped existing about 3 years ago. And that gap is costing them. Let's go back to 2020 and 2021. The math was almost unfair in the buyer's favor. Median home prices were sitting in the low to mid $300,000 price point. Rates were hovering near 3%. You could stretch a dollar here in ways that made no sense compared to what that same budget got you in New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., even parts of Texas, and inventory was under a month's supply at the peak. If a home hit the market on Thursday, it was gone by Sunday with multiple offers above asking price. I live that with my clients every single day of the week. Now, let's talk about 2026. Medium sale prices have moved into the mid $400,000 price point, depending on which part of the metro you are looking at. Interest rates are higher than those of 2021 lows, and that changes your monthly payment even when prices look similar. But here's what's also shifted in buyers' favor. Inventory has opened up. We're seeing roughly 2.4 months of supply across a lot of segments right now, which is a completely different environment than what buyers were dealing with 3-4 years ago. Translation, the frenzy is over. This is no longer a market where you throw a number at a wall and hope it lands. This is a market where strategy wins, hands down. And in just a few minutes, I'll show you exactly what that strategy looks like here in 2026. Because the buyers who are winning right now are doing something most people overlook entirely. But back to the stats for 2026. So what's actually happening to Charlotte during this stretch? South End has grown into a dense, walkable area close to Uptown, anchored by the light rail, restaurant corridor that keeps expanding. NoDa continues to draw creative energy and new development around the Blue Line rail that is coming with all the different stations. And Ballantyne, which most people still think of as just a suburban office park way down south, is turning into a mixed-use second downtown with new residential towers, entertainment venues, that are coming online, lots of different restaurants, food, so much going on, especially with the Bowl that just opened up. Now, Charlotte is no longer cheap, but cheap was never the only reason to move here. Compared to the big Northeast and West Coast metros, a buyer coming into this market today is still often looking at the mid $300,000 price range to mid $400,000 price range for a solid home instead of the high $700,000 to 7-figure entry points that are normal in coastal markets. The opportunity has shifted from speed to precision, and that matters more than most buyers realize. So let's get into whether the lifestyle still holds up, because the market numbers only tell half of the story. Now, if you're watching this and thinking about making a move to Charlotte, whether that's in the next 60 days or sometime later this year, I'd love to help you. I work with relocating buyers across the Charlotte metro every single day and can give you a real neighborhood deep dive based on your specific situation. My information is in the description below. Now, let's keep going. So, here's the deal. Most people relocating to Charlotte don't discover one of the best features until they're already unpacking boxes, and it has nothing to do with the price tag. Mecklenburg County's Greenway system has grown to more than 80 miles of developed trails. And What sets them apart is where they actually run, not along busy roads, along creek corridors and through mature wooded stretches that thread between neighborhoods. The experience isn't urban sidewalk. It's more like you genuinely forget you were inside a major metro. For buyers coming from cities where green space means a patch of grass next to a parking garage, this catches people off guard in the best way. Charlotte's climate adds to it also. 4 real seasons without the brutal winters of the Northeast or the relentless heat of the deep South. Mid-springs and falls make outdoor living practically for a big stretch of the year truly enjoyable. Patio dining, trail runs, weekend lake days, all of it stacks up into a daily quality of life that's hard to put a number on. Lake Norman to the north adds another layer. Boating, paddleboarding, and waterfront dining within a reasonable drive. That lake access is a big reason the Northern Corridor draws move-up buyers and families who want lifestyles built into their commute radius, not just their zip code. Then there's the airport. Charlotte Douglas International Airport handles over 50 million passengers a year as a major American Airlines hub, with nonstop access across the US, Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean, plus a growing list of international routes. For people who travel a lot for work, this is one of Charlotte's most underrated assets. Big city flight options without the big city overhead. Now, what has genuinely shifted? The congestion during peak hours is noticeably heavier than it was 5 years ago. Major inbound corridors and areas around active construction zones have addressed real-time concerns for commuters that these buyers who didn't factor that into the locations prior to making their decisions. And that's not going away as growth corridors keep expanding in all directions. We're building, yes. The lifestyle case for Charlotte holds up. It's just more location dependent than it used to be. Where you land inside this metro shapes how much of that upside you actually get to enjoy every single day. So let's get into what the numbers look like on the ground right now. A comparable home in Charlotte still often costs a fraction of what the same square footage runs in the Northeast markets, most relocating buyers that are coming from that area. Prices have moved since 2021, but that gap has not closed. For early 2026, the citywide median sits in the high $300,000 price point to low $400,000 range, with real variation depending on where you're looking. Inner city zip codes around Noda and Plaza Midwood frequently land in the mid $400,000 price point into the low $500,000 for the resales. South Charlotte and Ballantyne are pushing up into the high $500,000 and low $600,000 price point for a lot of detached homes. And Lake Norman and Davidson are commonly coming in above $800,000 price point because you're close to the water. Townhomes and condos near transit or enclosed neighborhoods create entry points below that citywide median. Worth knowing if you're trying to get positioned in a growth corridor without pushing to the top of your budgets. This might be something to look at. Now, let's talk about where leverage actually lives right now. We're sitting at roughly 2 to 4 months of supply across many segments. For under 4 months, sellers hold the edge. Push towards 5 months and above, the leverage tilts back towards the buyers. In some outer ring locations where new construction is competing directly with the resales, buyers are seeing rate buydowns, closing cost assistance, and design credits again. Concessions that disappeared entirely during the 2021 frenzy. This is no longer a one-speed market, and knowing which segment your changes are going to help with your strategy completely. Now, ongoing costs. North Carolina runs a flat state income tax down to 3.99% in which 2026, which reduces the drag on take-home pay compared to a lot of high-tax states. Property tax rates in Mecklenburg County are moderately compared to national averages. And HOA fees are widespread in newer subdivisions and townhome communities, which buyers are coming from older northeastern housing stock often underestimate what's going on here. Stack a mid $400,000 price of the purchase, a moderate property tax rate, and a declining flat income tax against what New York, Boston, or Los Angeles cost for the same square footage, and the math still lands meaningfully in the Charlotte's favor. So the gap has truly narrowed. Whether it's worth acting on now or waiting is a timing question, and that's exactly what I want to walk you through here next. Most relocation videos stop at lifestyle sell. This is the part that actually determines whether the move works. 1. Transit and infrastructure. The planned Silver Line is roughly 29 miles east to west light rail corridor running from Gaston County through Center City and out to Matthews and into parts of Union County. About 30 stations are proposed. This is still in planning, not active construction just of yet. We're not talking about something riders will use in the next couple of years, but here's the pattern worth understanding. When the Blue Line went in, neighborhoods along that corridor saw development, walkability, and home value shifts substantially. South End and NoDa are definitely proof of this. Buyers who positioned near future Silver Line stations today have a reasonable case for long-term upside that isn't priced in just yet. That's the difference between chasing what's already hot and buying in front of what's coming. The I-485 Express Lane expansion is also adding capacity to southern and eastern sections of the outer belt. Infrastructure follows growth, and Charlotte's growth isn't slowing down. Number 2, new construction supply. Builders are pushing harder into Union County and Cabarrus County, what's going on right now. Concord, Kannapolis, and Midland are seeing everything from attainable townhomes in the low $300,000 price point to larger single-family homes stretching into higher $500,000 price and beyond. With more inventory and more builder competition in these outer counties, incentives are more available than they were back in the peak of 2021. Rate buydowns, closing cost help, and design credits. They vary by builder and community, so build times include features and the quality of the surrounding infrastructure are all worth understanding before you commit to the specific community. Number 3, lifestyle fit. You know, lifestyle matters more than most buyers realize before they relocate, and it connects directly to the commute realty we touched on earlier. Uptown delivers the most urban experience here in Charlotte. High rises, arena events, walkable dining, and nightlife. If you're coming from a dense coastal market and don't want to give up that energy, this is where you land. South End gives you dense mixed-use living along the Blue Line corridor. Mid-rise buildings over retail, breweries, food hall, and a younger crowd. Very vibrant, strong walkability, and no yards really required. Ballantyne is suburban, but moving fast. Office campuses, new entertainment, and emerging residential towers are turning it into a self-contained hub in South Charlotte. Longer drive to uptown, but increasingly you won't need to make it going up there for the different options. The Lake Norman area, including Davidson and Cornelius, operates on a completely different daily rhythm. Larger lots, boat culture, and a quieter Main Street feel in certain towns. Still tied to Charlotte's job market for commuters, but the pace of life is genuine trade-off. Closer in and nearby transit zones command more per square foot. Outer county subdivisions give you more house for the money at the cost of a heavier rush hour drive. There's no universal right answer. There's only the right answer for how you actually live and your lifestyle. Number 4, timing the market. I say the most important for last. Timing the market is where I see buyers make the most expensive mistakes. And I want to be straight with you. Waiting for rates to fall might lower your rate, but it also pulls every buyer who's currently sitting on the sidelines back into the market. So if rates drop and competition spikes, the mid $400,000 price point for entry point available today could actually push it into the high 400 or possibly even the low $500,000 in popular areas. That could erase a significant portion of that rate benefit. I've been in this market for close to 30 years, and I have never once watched someone time both rates and price perfectly. What I have seen is that buyers who are positioned strategically in front of transit and infrastructure improvements build real equity over time. The question that actually matters, what is your monthly payment on a purchase today? And what does that number look like if prices climb 8 to 10% while rates only drop a single point? Run that math before you decide to wait. In 2021, the play was speed. Win the home before 10 other offers have come in. In 2026, the play is strategy. Choose your corridor, understand where inventory is building, and buy in front of future growth rather than chasing what's already peaked. Charlotte in 2026 is a market you understand before venturing into. The key word is strategy. So don't rush in and consider everything from lifestyle to infrastructure to pick the best place for your situation. If you're serious about relocating to Charlotte and want a custom breakdown of which corridors, price points, and timing actually make sense for your move, shoot me an email at mark@allbrick.com and I'll put together a game plan built around your specific situation. Let's get you positioned in front of this market before the window shifts. I've linked a video here that breaks down why two homes in the same Charlotte neighborhood, same price range, can have opposite outcomes. If you're buying in this market, understanding what separates those two is just as important as understanding where to buy. Until next time, hope to show you around town.